WXCO 98.9, Wausau's real news and great conversation. Here's your Daily News Roundup.
For WXCO News, I'm Isabella Nieto. The Wausau City Council will vote on the city budget tonight. The proposed budget sets next year's property tax levy at around $38 million, a slight increase from 2025. District 5 Alder Aaron Greiner says the biggest question of tonight's budget discussion is the referendum aimed at saving 12 firefighter-paramedic positions. If the positions aren't funded by the end of 2026, the city faces a roughly $1.4 million shortfall.
These people took an oath and made a commitment to this city, and they prove that to us every single day by putting their lives on the line to do their jobs. It's the least we can do to uphold our end of the bargain, to say, thank you for doing all of this and giving your time and your lives for this. We can at least try to keep you guys employed.
Mayor Doug Denny has proposed what he calls a veto-proof plan to save 4 of the firefighter positions by leaving 8 of them vacant, reorganizing Parks Administration, and cutting 1 police officer position. Greiner says he wants to find a funding solution internally rather than taking it to the ballot.
If we are going to be asking these people for money, we need to be able to show them that we have been doing everything that we can to try to solve this problem ourselves before we go to ask the taxpayers for additional money.
If the referendum is advanced, the council will need to finalize the ballot question by January for the April 2026 election. If it is not advanced, they will have to find other permanent funding or reductions before December 2026. The city's budget proposal includes funding to restore full swimming pool operations, animal control staffing, and the contracted operation of an emergency homeless shelter. The City Council tonight will vote on the city budget, consider adding the referendum to the spring ballot, and consider a communications contract aimed at educating the public about the referendum. Today is Veterans Day, a time to honor all who've served. But did you know this national holiday has Wisconsin roots? Terry Barr explains.
His name is Harvey Higley. And if you haven't heard of him, there's a good reason. The Marinette County man's story had been lost until recently.
Harvey is an amazing guy and has an impact on us every year, and nobody knows about it. Harvey graduated from the University of Wisconsin in 1915, and just 2 years later, he found himself in the battlefields of France. He went over for World War I. It left such an indelible impression on him.
Todd Pritchard is with the Wisconsin Alumni Association and tells me as he was digging into Higley's background, he found some amazing history. He led the State American Legion, and later Higley served as head of Veterans Affairs under President Dwight Eisenhower.
He thought, how can we really dedicate a day to veterans? Created a bill to change Armistice Day to Veterans Day, and that's what we celebrate now every year.
Harvey Higley is worth remembering. It's the Wisconsin man's work ensuring our nation never forgets to honor our veterans.
Average gas prices rose 8.1 cents over the last week. Melissa Kay has more.
The average across Wisconsin is $2.83. This is 11.3 cents higher than a month ago and almost 2 cents higher than this time last year. The national average also climbed a bit last week with an increase of 4.8 cents to land at $3.03 per gallon. Officials at Gas Buddy say these increases are due to refinery issues in the Great Lakes and West Coast regions. They say gasoline inventory data from the government shows another large drop in supplies, adding to the temporary price increases.
Registration for the United Way of Marathon County's annual Turkey Trot is open. Until Friday, registration is $30, and starting Monday, registration is $40. All registration fees will be used to continue the food work through the United Way's Hunger Coalition. Registration officially closes on November 26th. The race is November 27th and starts at 8:30 a.m. To register, visit the United Way of Marathon County website. You may have noticed some lane closures on Grand Avenue in Wausau yesterday. Both southbound lanes of Grand Avenue at Thomas Street are closed. A detour will use Thomas Street, Prospect Avenue, and Town Line Road. The lane closures are expected to last until Thursday. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services has applied for $1 billion in federal funding through the Rural Health Transformation Program. The recipients of the funding will be decided by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services by the end of the year. If Wisconsin's application is approved, nearly $340 million of the funding would go towards strengthening the rural healthcare workforce, and nearly $330 million would go towards rural technology and innovation initiatives. An additional $280 million would be used to establish new rural healthcare partnerships to improve sustainability in the industry. Wisconsin Public Service is warning residents of a new scam involving utility services. According to agency officials, scammers have been contacting their customers and aggressively demanding payment or banking information while threatening to cut off utility services. They're reminding residents that the winter heating moratorium is already in effect and utility companies are prohibited from shutting off service for non-payment during the winter. I'm Isabella Nieto for WXCO News.
The Packers lose to the Eagles. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports from Lambeau Field, where the Packers folded 10-7 to the Philadelphia Eagles. For a second week in a row, Green Bay's offense failed to generate enough points. Quarterback Jordan Love.
Got to get back to the drawing board. Same thing as last week, get back to the film session, trying to find ways to figure out what we're not doing as well right now, what's kind of keeping us in a funk and not letting us kind of get into a rhythm.
Packers head coach Matt LaFleur asked if he's concerned about his future.
You don't have a long-term extension. With the way things have gone this season, do you think you're coaching for your job?
I'm not. I'll leave that for everybody else to decide. I'll just focus on the day-to-day, and I feel like you're always coaching for everything in this league.
Packers center Elton Jenkins left the game in the second quarter after fracturing a bone in his lower leg. NBA, the Bucks beat the Mavericks 116-114 in Dallas. They play the Hornets in Charlotte tomorrow night. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
After a flurry or two this morning, it's going to stay mostly cloudy here through the day today. Kind of chilly, too, with a high of only 42 this afternoon. The wind southwest at around 10 to 20. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We're going to drop into the low to mid-30s. Tomorrow, the sunshine returns with a high in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable.
That's your Wausau News Roundup from WXCO. Find more news anytime at WXCO.FM. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts.